Hey, love. Hey, love. Oh, this is Jessie C. Love, also known as Teacher Love, Coach Love. Tenacious Tuesday to you. Since I am awake and my voice doesn't sound like I have a frog in it, I'm going to go ahead and get one of these Save Our Marriage Empowerment episodes completed. These are for healthy husbands and wives who've brought their self-reliance, independence together to become interdependent, build a bridge, lift one another up, and open up doors because you want the best for and from one another. Today is day 320, excuse me, which means we have approximately 45 days left in 2021 to get some, excuse me, whatever we started done, as well as to leave what we need to leave behind. Yes, indeed. This reading says know self. N-O, self. Often when we say, I love you, we focus mostly on the idea of the I who is doing the loving and less on the quality of the love that's being offered. Why? Because we are caught by the idea of self. We think we have a self. But there really is no individual such being as a separate self. Think about it. What is separate in this world? What is absolutely standing all on its own? Especially when it comes to living beings. What's truly standing on its own? And as I look around, I'm like, even the window is connected to the frame that's connected to the home, that's connected to the foundation, that's connected to the ground. What's really in itself? Only a flower. It's not just the flower. It's not just the sunlight and the chlorophyll and the bud and the stem and the root. It needs water. Come on here. It needs the air. It needs the trees that supply the oxygen. What are we truly looking at that stands alone? What do you have that stands alone? When people are like, trust no one. What stands alone? If you know something, please tell me. If you can think of something, please tell me. A car, it needs the tires, it needs the pistons, it needs the carburetor, it needs the steering wheel, it needs, whether electricity or gas, it needs a windshield most times. Otherwise, you'll be catching birds and all kinds of insects. What stands alone? Even in an outhouse, you needed somewhere to go. Even those that had that, oh my gosh, trauma of being out in cotton fields and pecan picking to use the restroom, needed the ground. What stands alone? If we were to remove anything from a flower, there would be no flower left. If we were to remove, the ground that we walk on, what would we have? Because ain't none of us humans flying in the air. None of us. So what stands alone? We cannot exist by ourselves alone. We can only interbe. I am made only of non-me elements such as the earth, the sun, my parents, my ancestors, and we cannot choose our parents. Even though a lot of us, if we had the choice, we would choose someone else oftentimes, or at least part of the time, choosing a different experience. There's a reason why we came through the parents that we came through. Now, is there a book on it? No. But could they learn something better? And should they have done better once they learned something better? Absolutely. Especially if they're still living. There's no way they should still be in the same circle if they weren't very healthy as parents. And us being children, not knowing, not being properly guided. If we weren't properly guided, we look at that and we change that for our next generation. We create generational blessings versus curses. We don't repeat something. For instance, oh my gosh, who the baby and Danny Lay and the mess that happened with that. First of all, she was wrong for getting involved with somebody who had multiple children with multiple women, because it already showed you that he was unstable and was creating single parent homes, broken homes. I don't care how much money someone has. It is not about the money. We've seen that with Nick, okay? We don't continuously create broken homes. When you see that, you don't put yourself in that situation to be another one thinking, oh, it ain't gonna happen to me. Oh, because my color is different. I'm gonna be different. He ain't showing me nothing. He has the name Da Baby. Okay? Young this, Lil that. If you ain't Lil because your name is secondary to somebody else, like a lot of my family calls me Lil Jessie. I'm the third, okay? And the first female in my family who was named after, okay? A parent, a grandparent. So when people call me Lil, it used to offend me. It took me some time. I think I was in my 30s before I realized that I was the only woman that was Lil something. Rightfully Lil, because I'm the third. And then I started saying, hey, you ain't old enough to call me Lil. Now I'm okay with it. I'm not immature, but I'm okay with it for the most part. But it took me some time. But I didn't just come up with that in my later years, talking about, oh yeah, I'm Lil Jessie. No, My grandma, Connie, started calling me Little Lady. But I didn't realize how much pressure that was until I got older. The expectation of being a little lady as a little girl. And man, I ain't gonna say it was detrimental, but it caused a lot of pressure and expectations. I'm still here though. Nevertheless, in a relationship, if you can see the nature of interbeing, well, I say interdependent, if you can see the relationship of interbeing between you and the other person, you can see and empathize with their suffering as well as your own suffering. You can see and empathize with their happiness as well as your own happiness. With this way of seeing and recognizing and feeling, you speak and act differently. And this in itself can relieve so much suffering and issues that's going on. As I was talking about the baby and Danny, he showed his, come on here, the trauma that he created in his 3-month-old daughter. That little girl's body is not going to forget that. She may not know about it right now, and we can pray that it doesn't have lasting impact, effect, and effect on her. The body never forgets trauma. We can say, oh, you got to forget about it. You got to get over it. You got to get through it. You got to grow through it. And you've heard me say, grow through what you go through. As parents and as adults in relationships, If there's any way possible not to put trauma on someone, then don't do it. As I say, cause no harm. Do no harm. Do no harm. No self. N-O. Keep your butt out of it. All right? Don't be toxic. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. And then realize that you are there to help someone through a trauma that they may not even remember. Okay? It may take some time for it to come up. You could be 20 years deep and still learning about one another because you're learning about yourself every day anyway. I know I am. We should be. We should be. You ain't the same today that you were yesterday. Even if it's just being another day older. And your nail grew a centimeter. Your hair grew a centimeter. One hair follicle falls out. You ain't the same today as you were yesterday. And you won't be the same this afternoon, later on in the day, this evening. We're constantly changing, grow, evolve, get out of self, and be empathetic towards someone else. This ended up being longer than yeah. Anyway, I appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning in and dropping in. However much time you gave me. Make it a lovely day, not just for you. Find someone else and help them have a lovely day too. Single, start with self, then give it to someone else. Married folk, you start with self, give it to your spouse, and let it radiate throughout the house, and take it outside of the house if you happen to leave. Always talking to the foundation first, our higher power. Yeah. Be love.